Hi, I'm Patrick Jaguar with Cosmic Alchemist Astrology, and thanks for tuning into this live whenever it is that you catch it. Whether you catch me in real time or you see it later. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the support to the channel. So anyway, you've seen the title of this, Blinded by the Light and Afraid of the Dark. So this is something that I address pretty frequently in videos, something I bring up and a topic I discuss. And just in my daily life, it's something I'm always bumping into. Not just in my work, not just as an acupuncturist or an astrologer or somebody who does divination, but just in conversation with people, just talking to people, just having like social relationships on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's basically a kind of a defining characteristic of modern Western culture. And I think it was set up by the biblical religions. So, blinded by the light. So definitely, light is certainly something we need. The planet, for example, would have no life without the light of the sun. It causes plants to grow. It's how the planet has warmth. So it's something we really need, and we can't live without light. Light is a very good thing. It's a very beneficial thing. But like I always talk about, especially, when I talk about eclipses and full moons and things like that, new moons, light can be very blinding. So I always use the analogy. So let's say you're standing on a stage and you've got a spotlight pointing right at your face, even from a distance. What this spotlight is going to do is it can affect your field of vision. So you'll have a big blind spot in your vision just because this light is so bright. So usually the spotlight, it's kind of coming from above. So you can see out in the first few rows of the audience, but beyond that, there's it's like a dimmer switch that's going up. Things start to get blurry. So yeah, light can definitely blind us. So by virtue of that, light can conceal things from us. And that's the whole thing. Like when you get an eclipse, you get a new moon, these luminaries go dark. And it gives you a break from just the constant flood of light and information. And you can take inventory and see, what's in your mind, what's in your soul, what's really in there. Who are you? This whole word recreation, it's literally, if you intone it differently, it's recreation. Or not maybe in tone, but you put the stress on different syllables, it's recreation. So these darkening of these luminaries, these new moons, these eclipses, lunar or solar, it's a time to recreate, to really understand what's in our minds, what's in our souls, what are they telling us, and how to proceed forward, how to evolve, how to change things. So light can be blinding. Light can conceal things in the outer world or within our inner world. So, and it's interesting too, when you go into the history of religions, especially these biblical religions, these holy books, Bible, Quran, Torah, especially the Bible and Quran, they talk about light, 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 and, the dark is evil. So you have these cultures that are fixated on, heavenliness and light and purity and all this stuff. And they don't want to look at what's in the dark. But the light is only one half of it. What you have to do is you have to take that heavenly light into the underworld. Now, what's the underworld? The underworld is the parts of yourself that you're not well acquainted with, the parts of yourself that you'd rather avoid, that you find ugly, that you don't like, that are damaged, that are hurt, that's your underworld. The underworld is also the side of the world that makes you uncomfortable. So, the underworld, the dark, it's the parts of yourself and your outer world that you find very uncomfortable, that you would rather not think about. Now, these biblical religions have got us to just fixate on, over time, they've created these cultures where people just fixate on heavenly light, and they never deal with uncomfortable things. And it's like, oh, well, God's just going to worry about that. You don't have to do that. Just keep fawning over God and God's heavenly divine light, and don't ever deal with uncomfortable parts of yourself in the world. And if you do, go on a crusade, go on some evangelical, witch hunt. So it's very dysfunctional. Basically, what we've been taught to do over generations is to just fixate on the light, stare into the light, get blinded by it. Don't deal with the things that are in the dark, whether in your internal or external world, and create this repression. And so you get this repression where you don't want to deal with the dark, but then when you're finally forced to, you basically lash out. So after these long periods of avoidance, there's like this lashing out. So really what you have to do with light of consciousness, with divine light, heavenly light, you have to take it into the underworld to help you to understand parts of yourself or parts of the world that you don't know much about, or that you find very uncomfortable, that you would rather not deal with. And this is something we have to learn to do. So it's pretty interesting, and I even see this kind of in like the new agey, like yoga culture, like a lot of people, especially in the yoga community, they'll style themselves as like, oh, I'm a sun worshiper. I'm a sun being. And it's like, well, yeah, you need sunlight to make your body healthy, but there's huge benefit to the dark. And, especially in these new agey yoga communities, it's like there's this whole thing where it's like, oh, if you don't go to sleep at sunset, you'll get sick and die and be very sick. And oh, if you don't get up by 6 a.m., you're gonna have chronic health problems. And it's like, are you fucking serious? I mean, I don't think working third shift is necessarily a good thing for you, but this light is driving me insane. But yeah, when you are awake at night, there are different opportunities to sort of have your what is up with this? To have your consciousness sort of like, I don't know if adjusted is the word, but there are different influences on your consciousness when you're awake at night. And I think in the Bible, this whole thing about, Jehovah being a jealous God who does not abide other gods. Well, this is about the sun. So when the sun is out during the day, the sun basically floods the sky with light. This fucking light is driving me insane. I don't know what this thing is doing. It's like, what a piece of crap. Totally fucking distracting, for one. Well, you get what you pay for, don't you? So yeah, anyway, when the the sun floods the sky with light, you can't see the stars, the moon's difficult to see, you can't see other planets. It's the jealous God of the sky. So it basically doesn't want you to look at what else is in the heavens. So Yeah, I think when you go through the history, there are definite milestones where religions were just fixated on light. And, you know, there's this one historical figure, Akhenaten, who was a pharaoh who's actually, he wrecked Egypt and he was thrown out of Egypt because he destroyed the um, the polytheist religion in ancient Egypt, and he tried to have this monotheism, and he destroyed the country. And this guy would literally go to bed when the sun set, and he was just fixated with the sun. And I think this is basically diffused through the world. So, you know, and another thing too with, you know, being a practitioner of Chinese medicine, a lot of, especially from China, a lot of physicians will tell you, you know, if you're not sleeping by 10 p.m., you're going to die horribly and prematurely. Now, I think this is built into cultures because revolts and rebellions are planned at night. It's like how in a modern world, you know, authoritarian systems, countries will still have curfews. You know, it's like some places did during the Wuhan cooties crisis in the last few years. So the curfews are about not having, you know, and the lockdowns are all about that, not having people congregate to make plans, to talk about things that really matter. So, yeah, revolts are planned at night, and rulers know this. So, I think built into a lot of you know, cultural traditional medicines are this fixation, this solar fixation. So, really, to get anywhere in life, we have to look into the dark, look at what's uncomfortable, and find a way to get comfortable and deal with it, because that's the only way that, you know, you evolve and move forward. So there's a little rant for you. I'm going to take off, get on to the next thing. Thanks for tuning in. Have a nice one.